My name is Reverend Dr. Kelly Andrew Padget. I mean, I spent like $150,000 getting that, so I'm going to use it at least once. That was a really good idea, by the way. And then I moved and took the lowest paying job I ever had in my life, so it's a real success story. Trust me. Ministries, awesome. You should do it. I'm kidding. So I just at least tell you a little bit about how I got to do what I was doing. So back in 2007, I was over at Salem Fields. I was working with the youth department. And if you don't know this, in the ministry, we test how we do on your kids, and then we move up to working with adults. So, and that's the way it works. So good luck with that. Who's the youth? Is there a youth worker here? Like, all they're doing is practicing on your kids. So you should be really excited for them to do that. But when God called me back to ministry, I'd run for a long time. I didn't tell this in the other story, but I got really disenfranchised with church and with especially the leaders of church. So I decided that it just wasn't for me. God had called me, and I went to Bible college, and I just got to this place. I'm like, man, if this is what you want me to do, I'm not doing it, because these people are terrible. And I don't want to be, it's just the truth. I don't want to be a part of it. And so I quit. And I ran for 17 years. And that's a whole nother story of how God got my attention. And not only did he get my attention, but he welcomed me back, and it was something I just never expected. But in doing so, I found myself serving at Salem Fields Community Church, and then this impression that God wanted me back in ministry, and so I did. Shortly after I joined staff and went into full-time ministry, my wife left, and our home was broken. I became a single dad. I was raising a little girl, a 6-year-old girl, trying to navigate life, broken inside, broken outside, angry, hurt, everything you could be, but still trying to minister to other people. But thankfully, I was in a community that was pouring into me, and they let me take some time to heal. And then I became a whole different kind of minister, because I could now speak to a group of people. There are a lot of us that go through familial break and through the trauma of that, and I was able to kind of speak into that. But during that time, I was pursuing my PhD and finishing all of that stuff, and so I was really focused on myself. Well, a friend from Bible college back in the 1906 or whenever I went to school back in the day. You called me old earlier, which really hurt my feelings, and a lot of other things. Seasoned, right? I mean, the words that people use, they think I get it, man. I get it. And then what did you say about my size, that I was a substantial individual? What? I mean, this is nonsense, you know what I'm saying? This is your leader. You guys vote on this or what? I mean, because I don't know. I don't know how it works, but do something about this. Anyway, or let's go across to the dojo and let's handle this on the mat like we're supposed to. Because I've got lots of anxiety that I want to take out on you. I'm just kidding. Anyway, that guy's good. Trust me, he's strong. He's small but strong, as you can see. Just joking. All right, but anyway, but for real, my friend calls me. He had graduated from college. He and his wife were lifelong missionaries to the Philippines. And so out of the blue, at this point, I'm an associate pastor. I'm the missions pastor. We keep in contact kind of a little bit. But, excuse me, he calls me one day, and he's like, Kel, I want you to come see what's happening in the ministry over here. Crazy things are happening. You need to come check it out. And I was like, well, that's random. But okay. He's like, I'll even pay for your plane ticket. I was like, sold. You know what I mean? Okay, because it's a lot. Trust me. So I fly over there, and come to find out, it was the longest long-distance blind date ever. Because he had a girl that he wanted me to meet, he thought would be perfect for me in my loneliness, which is like, what? Who does that? It was so weirdly underhanded, but cool at the same time. Thanks for thinking of me. So anyway, I ended up meeting this girl and her family, because she's quite traditional. So our first date is me, her mom, and her sister. So that was great. And so anyway, but we're walking through Manila, and we end up on Burgos Street, which is where a lot of the foreigners go. As it turns out, there's a lot of these bars, right? These girl bars that are there. And so as I'm walking down the street, I notice these girls dressed scantily with numbers So I'm asking him, I've seen movies like everybody else, but I'm asking what's the story here? Well, you can buy them and take them out, and you just kind of choose your number, and that's the whole thing. So I won't go into great detail about how that works, but suffice to say it's not good. So I'm walking ahead, and because I've got surprisingly longer legs than they do, and so I'm ahead of them in a way, and these three girls step out in front of me, and they look up at me, and they're smiling and giggling, and they say, would you care for a massage? I'm like, no, I'm good, thanks. And so they look at me again, they said, you can do anything you want. Just give us some money, we'll do whatever you want, it doesn't matter. So in this moment, right, I'm looking down at them, and I've described this a million times. It's like they look like shark's eyes. If you've ever seen the eyes of a shark during Shark Week or any of the videos, they're just dull and lifeless, right? There's just these flat black orbs. Now the girls are laughing, they're smiling, but their eyes completely devoid of life, completely devoid of hope. And something inside of me broke, because I'm looking down, I'm saying, these girls are broken. I mean, they're totally broken. The spark of life, the spark of hope is gone. And so I asked them, I said, can I pay you and pray with you? And they're like, what? I was like, I'll give you $20 each, 1,000 pesos each, if you just let me pray with you. And of course, they were cool with that, so I prayed with them. And once the trip was over, I came back home, and I felt God saying, look, you got to do something. I mean, my heart was stirred, you got to do something. So as any good American, I'm like, well, I'll raise money, and I'll send it to somebody. And God's like, man, that's a great idea, except I want you to be the person that goes and does it, so we'll raise money for you. And the problem with that is when I came back to Christ and into the ministry, God gave me these phrases, and I painted them on the wall. Remember, Sensei, we had you paint the walls in the youth room back then and do these murals. So he's an awesome artist, if you didn't know that. So he helped me paint the walls and things, but I had these words, these phrases painted on the walls also, and one of them was radical obedience. God told me that he wanted me to be radically obedient, which I assumed meant quit a high-paying job and go in the ministry, you know what I'm saying? And do that and still live fairly comfortably but be okay, but that was not at all what he meant by that. So God reminded me, you said that you were going to be radically obedient. Yeah, I did. What do you want me to do, God? He's like, well, what I want you to do is sell everything and move. So I did. I sold everything. Some things hard to let go of, but I let it all go, and I moved over, and my wife, my now current wife, and I, we got married, and we decided that instead of finding somebody to do something, we were going to be the somebody that did something. So we moved to Cebu, which is the second largest city, and it's this big island right in the middle of 10,000 islands. And we started this ministry called Reach, rescuing everyone craving hope and freedom. The concept of Reach is really simple. We go into the dark places where women are trafficked, and we provide them a way out. We give them a safe house to live in. We provide for all their needs. We give them education. We reconnect them with their families. We protect them. We love them. We nurture them. We provide healing for them until they're able to step out and secure their place in their society and reach back and help somebody else. And we are watching chains being broken daily, and it's amazing. But I want to tell you a story from Scripture that'll help kind of give you the idea of why we do this. So in John chapter 7 and the beginning of John chapter 8, there's a very familiar story. It's called the story of the adulterous woman. You probably heard it many times, and you're going to hear it one more time, so congrats to you. But I'm not going to read it to you. I'm just going to tell you the story. You may not realize this, but the Bible is a collection of stories. And they didn't so much as read it to each other as they told the stories over and over and over again. And so the scripture will be up there for you to see, but I want you to hear the story, be in the story, find your place in the story. See, when Jesus told parables, the idea of a parable was you were to identify as somebody in that story so you could feel it. It was a visceral thing, a sensory thing when they told stories. We're not so good at that here in the U.S. anymore, but back in the day, it was so visceral and real, right? So be in the moment for a moment. So if you can imagine, here's the temple. You've got this big, grandiose, beautiful temple where it's the heart of the city and people are constantly coming and going. It's full all the time. just on the side of the temple is this open court area where people would kind of hang out, and rabbis would come and they would teach small enclaves. That's really where they would find followers and people, hopefully that would pay them and help them, you know what I mean, because that's how they lived. And so they would teach and set up shop in these little corners of this place. So one day, Jesus is here with a group of people and he's teaching. And the next thing you know, you hear this clamor, this loud, cacophony, if you will, of people approaching. It's dusty and dirty, remember? So you get that scraping sound of sandals as they kind of walking through the dust and the dirt. And here comes this parade of men, angry men. And they're making their way towards Jesus. Well, this is not his first rodeo with that. I mean, people are angry at Jesus a lot, and people surround him quite often, and people, take shots at questioning him and trying to mess him up all the time. So it's probably not a real big surprise to him. But in this circumstance, these angry guys, they circle up around Jesus. And the next thing you know, they've got this half-naked girl by the hair. They drag her in, they throw her at the feet of Jesus. So now all of a sudden, where Jesus was just peacefully teaching people, here he is standing. He's got this half-naked girl at his feet, sobbing. She's terrified, right? Probably hurt, scraped up. And this angry group of men, like a wolf pack, surrounding them. Well, these guys have started picking up rocks. They're looking around for the biggest and smoothest stone. And all of a sudden, they put it to Jesus. They say, Rabbi, here's what happened. We found her in the midst of adultery. Now, of interest, I always wonder, where's the guy? Isn't it interesting how a lot of times we just lay the sin at the foot of the woman, and the guy just kind of disappears? Where is he? But in this circumstance, he's nowhere to be found. And of course, he could have been one of the ones holding the rock. I have no idea. But here she is. They say to him, we caught her in adultery. You know the law. The law of Moses says that we're supposed to stone her. But what do you think we should do, Jesus? Now, it amazes me how slippery Jesus was, right? I mean, they tried to pin him down so many times, but nothing they could seem to do ever stuck him. So they got him this time for sure, because the law is clear as crystal. She was caught in adultery. She dies by stoning, period. But let's see what Rabbi Jesus has to say. Joshua, right? What does he have to say? Well, Jesus being Jesus doesn't answer immediately. So what does he do? He squats down and he starts drawing in the dust. Now, there's a lot of conjecture as to what he was drawing, and some rabbis of old said that he was writing the names of the men around the circle. The reason why they said that is because there was a belief that you were to never write someone's name in the dust, because when the wind would come and blow the name away, it was as if you were saying, you're nothing. You're like the wind. You don't exist. You're gone. So it was really like just a bad omen, as it were. So some people said, he was writing their names. Some people say he was writing their sins, right? He was writing the different things that he knew about each one of them that they were doing. But whatever he was writing, it unnerved them, and they didn't like it. So then he finally stands up. I imagine he doesn't say anything right away. He looks down at her in this heap. Then he looks at all the angry faces. I mean, it's amazing how angry people get when they're righteous, right? The righteous indignation of the holy, when they're better than somebody else. Let me give you a little snippet, by the way, about holiness, because it's unfortunate that we throw the term around so flippantly a lot of times. We talk about being holy or wanting to be holy, but here's something, I write this down. They're supposed to do it now, right? Okay, he said, if I say you write it down, you have to do it. So if you don't do it, then I think that's a sin, maybe. I don't know. I don't have the complete list, but it probably is. And then you're in trouble with God. I'm just the mouthpiece of God. I'm not God. I mean, no matter what you think, okay? Thank you for thinking that. Just kidding. We pursue holiness to be better for other people, and not to be better than other people. So we pursue holiness to be better for other people, not to be better than other people. But this group of angry people were better than this woman, they thought. So Jesus looks at them finally and he says, whomever of you is free of sin, you throw first. Whoever it is. And then he squats back down and starts writing again, drawing in the dust. Well, next thing you hear is rocks hitting the ground. Because even in their anger and their righteous indignation and their holiness, they realized they weren't as holy as they thought. They weren't as pure as they thought. Maybe they even realized that this whole thing was a setup. Maybe they even realized that they actually put this woman in a position so they could use her against Jesus, maybe. But whatever it was, they realized they had no authority. But the only one who did have authority was the only one who didn't have a rock in his hand. So they meander away, sad, angry, confused. All that's left is this woman and Jesus. So he finally stops writing. He looks over to her. He says, where'd they all go? Where are your accusers? They left, Lord. And then Jesus says something pretty awesome. He says, well, I'm not here to accuse you either. Amazing, right? Because he could. But I'm not here to accuse you either. But then he takes it a step further. He says, but stop harming yourself. Stop the self-destructive behavior. Stop putting yourself in a position of spiritual death. I'm offering you something different. I believe the conversation continues. And Jesus says to her, let me show you a new way. But what Jesus in essence did, if I could give you the word picture, when the rocks are in the hands of the enemies, and there are plenty of them out there, ready to sling stones at every poor young woman who found herself in a terrible position, unthinkable choices to make, ready to sling their stones, Jesus places himself in the midst of that as a covering, as a shield. In fact, he does it for all of us. But not only does he save, but he provides hope and a future. See, Jesus could have just saved her, and that would have been enough. I mean, how thankful would you be if you knew you were going to die, and all of a sudden someone steps in and says, not today? That's amazing. But he takes it the next step. I want to free you from the thing that is destroying you. Man, I'm spitting like it. What's going on with that? I mean, who does that? This is the splash zone. You are in a bad place. I mean, like, here's the towel. I should just like have a trough or something. It's like being at the dentist. You know, they tell you to spit. You're like, where is this all coming from? You know, I've never generated this much saliva in my life. It's so weird. I'm having a great day. Look, I'm going home tomorrow. Like, I can't even see straight right now. Like, I don't know how many of you are actually out here, but I have an idea. But it's just like my mind is completely blasted. So we're going to get through this. Thank you, Lord. Stop harming yourselves. Be free. I can show you freedom. I can only imagine that as Jesus was walking towards the cross, there was one beautiful woman following him who had been freed indeed by the covering of the Savior. Well, that's what we try to do. We try to go into the dark places where girls have been ensnared and trapped that feel completely hopeless, whose eyes have lost all life, and we go into those places and we reach out in the name of Christ and we offer them a way into hope and freedom because we believe that we serve a God who resurrects the dead. We believe that only our God can resurrect that broken, stony heart, who can return life to the eyes and smiles to the mouth that are genuine, who can provide hope where death reigned. That's what I believe. And I believe it because I've seen it. So if you'd allow me, I'm going to tell you a few stories. When we first got to the Philippines, there's into Cebu, there's this place called Mango Avenue. It's where all the bars are. At the time, it was the tail end of COVID. Most of the bars were still closed. One bar was open that I passed. I couldn't resist. It's called Bamboozers. And I was like, back in the day, I would have been all about Bamboozers. I don't know what's in there, but I'm going in anyway. Bamboozers. I got to check it out. So I'm going to Bamboozers. Beautiful girls inside of Bamboozers. They welcome me, big smiles, same eyes. It's not new to me at this point. I walk up to the bar. What can we get you to drink? Juice. Who orders juice in the bar? This guy. So anyway, they're like, okay, I guess we got juice somewhere. I don't even know. So they find me some, I think it was pineapple juice, obviously, because we grow a lot of pineapple. So they give me this juice, and they start asking me questions, because the girls' job is to entertain and to get me to, drink more, buy them drinks, because that's how they get paid. We've had girls, by the way, that were drinking 30-plus shots of tequila a night, and they weigh 100 pounds. Can you imagine? I mean, I weigh 1,000 pounds, and I still couldn't drink 30 shots of tequila. I shouldn't have said 1,000. That's it, but it's close. Nonetheless, 30 shots of tequila a night, that's how they get paid. Every night, right? So they're trying to get me to buy them drinks and buy myself drinks, and then eventually, if it works out, to try to take them out, to have them leave. And the way it works is it's illegal. This type of trade, I'm trying to be sensitive to the kids, but that kind of exchange is illegal, so they found a loophole. It's called a bar fee. So basically what happens is you pay the bar to have their employee off for the night. So you're not paying her, you're paying them to let her off for the night. And then she just happens to have to do whatever you say. That's how that works. That's how they get around it. So they're hoping that I would take a liking to them. But long story short, I start building relationship with these girls. They quickly realize after I tell them who I am and what I'm doing that I'm not there to take them out, but I just want to introduce them to Christ, love on them, and let them know that they're special, not for what they look like or what their body can do, but who they are. And once they start to realize that that's true, that I am who I say I am, man, the walls start coming down, relationship starts being built. Well, out of the blue, the owner finally kind of shows up. This guy named Daniel, he's Canadian. It's very interesting. He's like 6'6". He weighs like 14 pounds or so, 15 pounds. He's like if he turns sideways, he just totally disappears. So he's really great with like hide and seek and stuff. It's amazing. So we like standing next to each other, we look like the number 10. Like for real. So anyway, so Daniel comes out. He's like, he starts noticing that I'm there. He's like, what are you doing here? Like, why do you keep coming? Like, what's the deal? And I tell him, I'm like, I'm a missionary. He's like, what? Like, are you serious? Like, why are you here? I said, man, I'm your natural enemy. He's like, why are you here? I said, I'm trying to take your girls out of here and give them a safe place and give them a new life because what you do disgusts me. I told him straight up, man, like, no. So he goes through the whole cycle of grief, He's like sad, then he's upset, then he's confused, and he's like, I don't get it, But he lets me keep coming in for some reason. So one day, he comes to me and he says, Pastor Kelly, like, I really feel like we could be friends. And I was like, how? I'm your natural enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can we be friends, dude? And I was like, it's like Bugs Bunny, right? When the sheepdog and the wolf are like friends outside, and then when they clock in, they fight, you know what I'm saying? Then they clock out, they're friends again. I'm like, dude, I just don't see it. I don't get it. He's like, well, I really think so. So then I decided to find a jiu-jitsu school locally and start trying to teach a little bit and just to be a part of the community because I love it so much and it's meant such a big deal to me. The school I find, it's true, it's so crazy, dude. The school that I find is right next to his building. Like they're touching, the buildings are touching. I'm like, what's the chances? So then I go get like super sweaty, and I sort of did this on purpose, if I'm being totally honest. Like I'm pouring sweat like a melting snowman. I'm coming down in my gi. I walk into the bar like just some like pooling around me on the floor. I know he's got to clean it up, which makes me laugh. And so he's like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? I said, oh man, I was teaching jiu-jitsu next door. He's like, I would love to learn jiu-jitsu. I'm like, yes, I want to teach you jiu-jitsu. Like, I want to do that. Like, I want to teach you a rear naked choke right now. We can practice right here. First lesson for free. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, dude, this guy's got long arms. I'm going to break me some arms. This is going to be great. And then I prayed, like, God, please help me not to do that, you know. Once he realized what jiu-jitsu was, he changed his mind. He, like, switched to Muay Thai or something like that. You know what I mean? Which was cool, but that's okay. Fast forward a bunch of months, actually a year. I drive by, because we had moved to another part of town. We were working in different bars in different areas. I drive by his bar. It's closed. So that's weird. So then I drive by the next day. It's closed again. So I reach out to Daniel. I said, bro, what's up with your bar, man? It's closed. He's like, oh, yeah, we're remodeling, Pass. He called me Pass, which is short for pastor. We're remodeling. I said, oh, okay. He said, but I got to tell you something. When we reopen, we're not going to have girls anymore. I was like, really? Why? He's like, you got to me, bro. He's like, I can't do it anymore. I don't want to be that guy. And I was like, man, that's ridiculous. And he said, by the way, since my bar is closed, I'm going to all the other local bars because I'm looking for girls for you. And I'm like, this guy, like, went from being my enemy to literally helping us. And he does help, trust me. I'll tell you the stories for real. But the crazy, and I said this in last service, and I want you to know this. For the first, year and a half, I prayed against Daniel. And then one day, I started praying for Daniel, and then all of these things changed. You know, we love to pray against people. Why don't we start praying for people? You know, whether we agree with them or not. And it was, man, what a change. So a couple months later, Daniel calls me. He's like, I got a girl for you. I met her. It was her first night in the bar last night. I ran into her. She does not belong here. You've got to help her. I set up lunch with you tomorrow. Can you do it? I'm like, I'm in. So I go meet this girl. Her name is Honey. All right? This is Honey's uniform when she came. That was the uniform that she was given. It's nice, right? Honey was the oldest of 5 siblings. She was the only one in her entire family in any generation that had ever gone to college. She was 3.5 years into college. Every member of her family, extended family, was giving money, trying to pool money to get one person through school, because that's how much it can change the trajectory of their family. One person with an education. So they all gave. These people were living on a bowl of rice every other day. That's all they could afford. They were the poorest of the poor, and I mean that. This is a poor country. These people were the poorest of the poor. They had nothing. Well, both of her parents died horribly in an accident. She's the oldest. It falls to her to take care of her younger siblings. She drops out of school. She's got a friend that's working in the bar in Cebu. She says, you can come waitress. She comes to waitress. They hand her uniform and say, you're not waitressing. This is what you're going to do. They pay for her to get there. They pay for her food. They pay for her place to stay. She's trapped because she has no way to pay back, right? So she's stuck. I meet her the next day. She'd been there one night. I meet her the next day for lunch. She tells me the story. She's like, what are you going to do? This guy Daniel says you can help. What are you going to do? I said, well, here's what we're going to do, honey. I'm going to take you get your stuff, your backpack. Then I'm going to take you to the port. I'm going to put you back on a boat. 18 hours later, you're going to get off the boat at home. I'm going to give you $100 to go buy food for you and your family so they have food to eat. Then the next day, you're going to go to the registrar at your school and put me in contact with them. I'm going to pay to re-enroll you in school, and then I'm going to pay you to make sure you have food and everything you need while you're in school so you can graduate. And she's like, well, what do I have to do? You know, I'm like, you know, she's thinking, like, what's the exchange? I'm like, you just have to say yes. Why are you doing this? I said, because God designed you to be free. And that's why I'm here. I came for you. Because the Lord wants you to be free. And doggone, I'll do anything I can to make sure that you remain that way. So hopefully you can help other people. Here's what's great about this. So that happens. She goes back. She gets enrolled in school. This is her now. She graduates summa cum laude with a criminology degree. The PNP, the Philippine National Police, come to recruit her because she was such a strong student. They come to the school on her graduation day to recruit her out of college so that nobody else gets her. And they want her to work in the sex crimes division so that she can now go help trafficked girls all across the nation. So she went from being stuck to now being the one who's going in to stop it and shut it down. Is that amazing? All right. Further, I hooked her up with a local church. She gets saved and baptized, and then she leads her siblings to Christ who get saved and baptized. And then the Philippine National Police want her so bad that they give her a bonus, a signing bonus to say yes, which she signs over to us to say, help somebody else. This girl has not had 2 pesos to rub together her whole life. And the first time she gets paid, her first paycheck, she gives to us so that we can go help somebody else like her. That's ridiculous to me. From a bar owner going out and finding girls to finding her to now working against the trade from the inside, from a position of authority that we don't have, to now giving money back to the organization to go help somebody else. That's exactly why we do what we do, right? Next slide, please. These are 2 of our girls here. There's 3 of these girls. They're inseparable completely. They're all 19 years old. All of them were in the same situation as Honey for the most part, a little bit different. You can see how small they were. When we got them, all 3 of these girls weighed about 80 pounds. They gained 20 pounds after being with us for 1 month because they were able to eat every day. And before that, they couldn't. They literally, these girls would go 2 days without eating. All they would do is drink tequila for 2 straight days because that's how they got paid. But they couldn't afford food. So they're on their way to school here because they have to ride public transportation to get there. I'm so proud of these girls. They are amazing. They're heart-melting. They're beautiful, they're funny, and they're full of life now. When we got them, they were just dead inside. And now they laugh. I mean, look at her. She's laughing and smiling. I don't think she'd smiled for a good year and a half. Right? Next slide. I meant to tell you guys this. This is pretty amazing. This girl right here, when we got her, she was 14 years old. She lied about her age so that she could work at the bar to try to make some money because she was starving. You have to be 18. They don't check IDs, I assure you. All they do is, how old are you? 18? Okay. She was 14 years old when we got her. And now this was a day she did a presentation and she's still in high school, by the way. She did a presentation about Filipino culture, and so she's doing a cultural presentation. She was about 85 pounds when we got her. She's more than 85 pounds now because now she's eating, and she has hope. She is so funny and cute and cool. We actually have to work with the social work department because she's underage, so the government checks in to make sure that she's safe and secure and nothing bad's happening to her, which is really amazing. Next slide. This is one of our girls, one of the 3 I was telling you about. She wants to be a lawyer because she wants to be able to prosecute bar owners and people who are taking advantage of girls. And she wants to also try to argue the bar fine legislation in the Supreme Court of the Philippines. So she's literally studying law so that she can go argue to try to shut this down so that other girls don't have to go through what she's gone through. She is a hammer. Next slide. All of our girls have won academic achievements at the top of their class, and every single one of them is on the dean's list this last semester. By the way, we have 8 girls in our safe house. We prayed for a house. We have a 6-bedroom home that can hold 24. We have 8. The reason we have 8 is because that's all we can afford right now. And I'll talk more about that later, but we have as many as we can possibly pay for in the program. We've graduated 3 so far. Fully graduated 3 girls who are all working, earning money, taking care of their families, and also reaching back and helping other girls. It's crazy. Yeah, thank you. Next slide. There's the 3 girls again. They went from having a uniform like that bikini that you saw at the beginning to this is their college uniform now. Look how professional and sharp they look. I mean, it's so amazing to see. I love seeing them right here. They're in the what we call the sala or the salon of the safe house. But they're so beautiful and smart and talented. We have a singer and 2 dancers. Apparently, they're only TikTok dancers, so I don't really count that personally, but they seem to think that they're good at it, whatever. But we do have one singer in that group who has a beautiful voice. I just told her, I'm like, man, be a singer if you want to, but man, finish college. I don't care if you decide to be a singer, but graduate. She's like, of course, Pass, of course. So anyway, they're just awesome. Next slide. This is one of their bedrooms. When they worked at the bar, they would have a bedroom. I tried to show this from this corner to that corner over there, like this area over here. They would sleep 12 in a room. They had no beds. They just used bamboo mats on the floor. They didn't have a toilet. They had a bucket. And that's what they used on a daily basis. They went to this. We bought them all. They have their own bed. They have a fan, which if you don't have a fan, you'll just die, trust me. And they could not be happier. When we showed them their rooms, they cried. Every time we show a girl her room, they cry because they've never had their own bed, ever. We've got girls that have never had a new pair of shorts. They've never had a new pair of underwear in their whole life. We take them shopping for the first time and buy them appropriate clothing and things like that. I mean, we've got girls that have never had a new, unused pair of underwear in their entire life. And we give them the dignity, and they get to go pick their own stuff. It's amazing watching them do that. Next slide. This is some of them in one of the rooms. Here we have future lawyers, future accountants, future hotel managers. The future, from what they were to who they are today, you guys, you just wouldn't believe it. And they're so happy and free. It's so great, man, so great. Next slide. Let me finish up with this girl's story. This girl is crazy, man. She's the wildest. Her name is Desiree. Desiree was another one that we got from Daniel, that we found through him. So Desiree lost her parents early. When she was young, she was abused by multiple male family members, uncles, cousins, things like that. When she turned 18, they kicked her out of her family's home, which her extended family moved into and just took over when her parents died when she was I think she was 4 or 5. So she suffered abuse all the way up till she was 18. Then they dropped her off in front of the bar and said, make your own way. It's hard to tell from here, but Desiree is stunningly beautiful. She's been recruited for pageant work, like to be in all kinds of things. She actually, she's been approached to do commercials and things. She's gorgeous, really. But she never talks. And the reason is, Desiree has an eidetic memory, which means she remembers every single thing that she reads, word for word, and she never forgets it. So she was taught from an early age, keep your mouth shut, because when she talks, she sounds like a robot sometimes. So she's literally spouting off information. She's hyper intelligent. Like, I'm moderately intelligent. She shames me. She is so intelligent. She remembers everything. And I'm not kidding, everything. That's not a really good selling point at a bar. So she's been taught to keep her mouth shut and smile. And so when I met her, it took several meetings before she would say anything. And the only way I could get Desiree to talk was to ask her questions, which she was compelled to answer in a way. Like, she's like, I would either, or I would misquote something on purpose so that she would have to correct me, which she'll do, right? So that's how I got her talking. But Desiree, once we got her enrolled in school, she just completed her first year in school. The president of the college gave her a medal because she's the first student in college history to have perfect scores on every single assessment of any type. Verbal quizzes, written quizzes, essays, tests, exams. She had a flawless record. She'd never made one mistake. And so the president of the college literally gave her a medal because he's like, nobody has ever done this in the history of our school. Like, that's how smart she is. So I asked Desiree, I said, what do you want to do when you grow up? You could be a lawyer, a rocket scientist. I mean, man, you could be the president. Whatever you want to do, what do you want to do? And she said, I want to run the cultural wing of the Philippines because I want people to know how beautiful our culture is and how beautiful our history is. And I want other people to know about that and to always have the stories. Now, this is a girl who knew nothing but abuse and being used, who still believes in the beauty of her people and the culture. She didn't have that until Christ found her in that bar and took her out. She didn't have any hope of that. But now she's so hopeful that she's going to use this incredible intellect of hers to make sure that the stories of her people stay alive. I find that fascinating. Let me tell you just one last funny story about Desiree. We give the girls a stipend of money every month so that they can feel like they have their own money. I mean, they can go out and buy things if they want a burger or something. Like we make food for them and all that stuff, but occasionally they want to go to McDonald's or Jollibee or something and get something. Well, all the girls do that except her. Like, I realized she wasn't ever going anywhere or buying anything. So I'm like, what is she doing with this money? Some girls send their money to their families and stuff to help them, like, but she doesn't have any family to do that. So I was like, what is she doing? So one day, I hate her so much sometimes. One day she shows up, I show up and she comes out and she's got these like claws. She just got her nails done. Like, I mean, she's got diamonds, flowers, like these ridiculous nails. I'm like, where did you get that? She's like, I got my nails done. I was like, how could you afford to get your nails done? I'm like, oh, she's been saving her money. I'm like, man, that's what you spend your money on? She's like, I like nice nails. You know, I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm working to teach these girls that they're more than what people, you know, what they look like and things like that. But she's all about those nails, man. So she's like, I don't care. And then she's like, you said that we could spend our money on whatever we wanted and it was unrestricted except for alcohol and drugs and cigarettes, so I can use it on my, and I'm like, okay, I did say that. I mean, she like literally quoted exactly what I said. I'm like, okay, man. So anyway, she's got these nails and it's weird, man. But she is an incredible student, but she's just a loving person. And she is starting to wake up to the fact that she's more than what she looks like. You know, and seeing that dawn in her eyes that she's a daughter of the King is just amazing to me. So I just want you to know that we, on behalf of you, are fighting darkness in the Philippines every day. We're doing our very best to shield the girls from the rocks that people are slinging at them, to offer them hope and freedom, to bring them out of darkness and give them a future so that one day they can go back and help others. My goal is to work myself out of a job. I don't see myself leading this mission my entire life. I see myself raising up a generation of young women who are going to lead this mission. And I believe that these girls are going to change the future of their people. We just are there to facilitate a little bit, and then we let the Holy Spirit and let them do it. That's the way missions is supposed to work. We're not the saviors. We just offer whatever God gives us, and then we let it happen, and then we go someplace else and keep dropping seed. But let me encourage you in this. You don't have to sell everything and go to the Philippines to be a missionary. You are one here. I'm counting on you to reach your people. I'm praying for you that each one of you would be casting seed where you are, that you would shield somebody from the rocks that are being aimed at them, that you would offer the hand of Christ to somebody, that you would offer them a hope and a future here. I'll do it there, you do it here, but we all have to do it. You know what I mean? So the shameless plug is this: I need help. I need you to pray for me because that's the strongest thing that you can do. And I'm not just saying that, it's true. The strongest and best thing you can do for me is to pray protection because sometimes it gets kind of dangerous. Not everybody likes what we do there. I don't really care about that. I'm not too worried about it. I'm not a fool either, but I've been threatened many times. Yeah, but they're so small, I don't really take it seriously. I'm like, what was that you said? I couldn't hear you up here. What? Hey, minute. What? Like, what is this? Why is this kid? Oh, it's not, that's a real person. Okay, sorry. I didn't know. I'm just kidding. But they threaten me all kinds of ways. They're going to shoot me and stab me. I'm like, go for it, dude. I mean, if you can find a vital organ here, you're amazing. So I deserved it then. But it's not safe. I mean, it's getting crazier now. Honestly, there's a lot of gangs and other things that are sort of taking over the business. And actually, the police are my biggest threat because they're paid off. And so when the bar owners go to them and say, look, this guy's interrupting things, they threaten to arrest me all the time. That's not a good place to be, I assure you. The prisons there are horrible. So, but again, not trying to sound like I'm cool. I just don't care, because I'm going to keep doing what I do until either I'm cast aside, killed, or released to do something else. That's just what God made me to do, and I'm going to do it. But I do need your help financially. We started off, it was $500 a girl to get her completely taken care of: school, living, medical, dental, clothing, internet, rent, food, water. We can't even drink the water out of the tap, so we have to buy water every day. I mean, stuff, all of that stuff. But we're down to like $300 a girl. So I need help. We have girls waiting to join the program that I'm hoping to raise money so I can go back and bring more girls into the program immediately. I mean, they're literally waiting to join. And they're praying that we raise enough money to bring them into the program when we come back. So if you want to check us out, it's reach.ph. A lady in the last service thought it was ph.com. It's not. It says reach.ph. And so, no, you've never heard of .ph before. That's okay, but it's real. Reach.ph. And we're a 501c3, so if you actually do give enough money every year to claim that on your taxes, have at it. I've never met anybody who actually does that, but if you do and you want to write it off on your taxes, we're 501c3, you can do that. There's a donate tab at the top, but you can also check out some of our stories. You can check us out on Facebook. We update that quite regularly, and we keep you up to date with everything we're doing. But I'd pray, just pray about it. If you would be willing to help us, I'd sure appreciate it. So would they, I assure you. And I can tell you this, man. I'm proud to be associated with you all and to be on the front line of pushing back the darkness there. But I'm asking you to do it here, because there's a whole lot here. You do it here, I'll do it there, and then we'll talk about it another time. We'll compare stories, you know what I mean? So let me pray for you. God, thank you so much for today. Thanks for an opportunity to speak about the things that you're doing. Actually, I just want to kind of brag about the things that you're doing, God. You're breaking chains all over the world. It's crazy, but I'm so appreciative that you use me to do that sometimes. I'm thankful that you use these people to make it happen also, here and there. I'm asking for, God, if you don't mind, we want to do more. We want to do more. There is more to be done. There are more people to be saved, more people to be freed, more. And God, I'm asking you to provide that here and there. But I just pray that you would empower everyone here, that they would recognize that the go and make disciples was not for professional ministers. We all are professional ministers. All of us are missionaries. I appreciate the title and I appreciate all those things, God, but you remind me all the time that you are raising up an army of missionaries everywhere, and you call it your body. So I just pray that each person here would take that quite seriously. Lord, you know what we need. I know you're already providing it, so I'm not even worried about it. I just thank you in advance. But I thank you for this place, and I pray blessings and peace over this place today and moving forward. And I pray that every person would take handfuls of the gospel of peace with them and cast them everywhere that they go. Thanks for all that you do, Father. In the name of Jesus, amen.